Hello, and welcome to TechSpace, the podcast place for technology news and current events, as well as tips and tricks for all you digital dreamers, online creators, and innovators powering the internet. I'm your host, Derek Musso, and joining me will be my fellow tech enthusiasts and superstar co-hosts, Jackie Dana, Lisa McKnight, and Rodney Brazil. In today's episode, the main story tackles a hack that's got the Twitch community all a twitchy. We'll discuss what happened, how the hackers broke in, and what was exposed. Second, we'll hit you with our 5-spot roundup. These are 5 hand-picked and carefully curated rapid-fire news stories, the most interesting, intriguing, and fascinating technology news stories we're all talking about this week. And finally, speaking of gaming hacks, stay tuned for the TechSpace tip of the week to learn how you could get your online gaming on more safely and securely. But before we get started, this podcast is brought to you by Namecheap. Namecheap is the world's second largest domain registrar, a top web hosting provider, and one of the fastest growing technology companies. Namecheap offers a wide range of products and services to help you launch your big idea online and turn it into a website you could scale and grow. If you're sitting on the next internet craze, must-read blog, or game-changing online business, it all starts with having an awesome website. For more than 20 years, Namecheap has been steadfast in its mission to make the internet accessible and affordable for everyone, all while providing unparalleled customer service. With Namecheap, make more online for less.
You're listening to TechSpace, technology news for digital dreamers and online creators.
Okay, for today's main story, let me introduce Jackie Dana, who's going to tell us what happened when an anonymous and mysterious 4chan user shared a torrent claiming to have the source code for Twitch, the most popular video content creation platform among gamers. So Jackie, what happened?
Hey, Derek. This is a fascinating story. It all started last week when streaming service Twitch was hacked. On the 4chan forum, an anonymous user shared a 125 gigabyte torrent that contained, among other things, the platform's source code and development kits, an unreleased gaming client, and information about how much top streamers earned. In the post reproduced on Ars Technica, the user claimed Jeff Bezos paid $970 million for this, and we're giving it away for free. Twitch quickly acknowledged that the hack had occurred, sending out a tweet on October 6th that read, "We can confirm that a breach has taken place. Our teams are working with urgency to understand the extent of this. We will update the community as soon as additional information is available. Thank you for bearing with us."
So Jackie, for some of the people out there who aren't familiar with Twitch, what is it and why was this breach such a big deal? For the Twitch community and gamers, as well as for Twitch's top content creators and earners.
It's important to understand what Twitch actually is. It's an interactive live streaming video service founded in 2011 and acquired by Amazon in 2014. It offers every kind of video content imaginable, from music to cooking shows to news and political analysis. However, the most popular channels tend to focus on gaming. The top channel, Critical Role, is a show focusing on tabletop role-playing games, and many channels are devoted to streaming video games with live commentary.
So how did the hacker or hackers actually break in?
The Twitch breach appears to have occurred when hackers took advantage of a server misconfiguration in order to download massive amounts of data. As reported by The Verge, former Twitch employees point to poor security measures as the reason the breach was possible. The Verge spoke to unnamed sources who claim that the platform has faced several security problems that were never publicly disclosed. In addition to linking streamer accounts to Amazon services, Twitch also uses third-party services that Amazon itself shies away from, and these have been the source of some of the problems, they think. As The Verge noted, multiple sources describe Twitch as a company that pays lip service to safety, but that doesn't back up its words with action. Before this latest breach, something was up with the platform already. For one, over the summer, Twitch had to contend with these things called hate raids, where bots choked the live chats with racist and hateful comments. Many within the community called attention to the problems through the hashtag TwitchDoBetter and then a one-day walkout on September 1st.
Do authorities have any idea who the hacker or hackers are, or what the motivation behind the attack was?
That's a good question. According to the Washington Post, the 4chan user that leaked the data may have been one of the disaffected members of the community, as they claim to have leaked the information in order to foster more disruption and competition in the online video streaming space. The user furthermore called the Twitch community, and I quote, a disgusting toxic cesspool. Since the data dump, the biggest topic of conversation has been streamer earnings, which came as a surprise to many of the community members. The breach revealed how much top creators are making on Twitch. One streamer in particular getting a lot of attention is Hassan Hassanabi Piker, who has made over $2.8 million in the past 2 years on the platform, despite promoting leftist political positions. The Washington Post also noted that the data showed only 3 women ranking in the top 100 paid creators, and that the vast majority of the top 10,000 streamers are white and male. It's troubling that 2 days after the breach, when one would assume the platform had locked everything down, hackers were still able to insert close-up images of former Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos into the backgrounds of Twitch pages for popular games like Grand Theft Auto 5 and Minecraft. In light of all of these issues, many Twitch community members fear that trust is eroding in the platform. As tabletop role-playing game streamer M. Negaorix Montgomery told the Washington Post, the timing couldn't be worse for the breach to happen in terms of Twitch's current public image. It will be interesting to see what happens from here. Has Twitch finally patched the holes, or will they continue to face these problems? Only time will tell.
Thanks, Jackie, and keep us posted in the future if there's any updates to the story. Next up is the 5-spot roundup with Lisa McKnight, who brings you our pick of the tech stories and headlines from all around the world this week. Lisa, what's the latest?
Hi, Derek. It's been a big week for tech. We can start with how Facebook is in the spotlight again, and this time over Instagram and teenage harm. The BBC reports Frances Haugen, Facebook whistleblower and former lead product manager, whom you may recall wants the platform to stop causing harm to young teens, will appear before the UK Parliament later this month to make her case against Instagram. She'll be discussing how Facebook puts profits above all else, uses algorithms designed to stir things up and get you to buy more, and that on all its platforms, negative social harm is occurring. This is sure to be interesting, as the topic on the table in the UK is the regulation of social media content on platforms. In contrast, this week, former UK political party leader Nick Clegg, interestingly now head of public affairs at Facebook, appeared on CNN in the US on their behalf to announce Instagram's initiatives to prevent teenage harm. Answering questions related to revelations in Congress about Facebook, he was questioned about how Haugen alleges Facebook is ignoring its own research into teen mental health and the effect of Instagram's imagery on teen harm rates. Clegg was drawn into looking at research showing how Facebook incites unhealthy anger on its platform in general. Clegg also said he didn't know if the platform spread pro-insurrection voices, leading to the Capitol Hill riots on January 6th this year. He added he thought Facebook's algorithms, and I quote, should be held to account, if necessary, by regulation, so that people can match what our systems say they're supposed to do from what actually happens. All of this sounds promising, but I guess we'll have to see.
I'm sure everybody's curious to see how this plays out. Next, I hear you have 2 stories about countries wanting to ban emerging technologies. Can you tell us what's happening in China and in the EU?
Sure, Derek. First, I'll take us back to the recent actions of the China People's Party earlier this month, which some listeners may be aware of, but in case you're not, China's tough stance on banning the trade in Bitcoin, or to even mine the blockchain, was seen recently in action when China made it illegal to have anything to do with Bitcoin if you trade in country. This stance is now impacting e-commerce. China's Alibaba, a giant wholesaler retailer company, announced this week they've stopped selling cryptocurrency mining machines anywhere from now on. With any associated cryptocurrency activity within China punishable by fines and criminal charges, we can see the implications for private companies who trade there. Alibaba is also removing any software on its website designed to educate those wishing to buy coins belonging to virtual cryptocurrencies. It's probably most worrying for blockchain miners, as China is, soon to be was, the largest center of this activity because of cheap energy prices and data storage facilities. Now, going over to the neighboring continent, another emerging technology is under fire, but this time by the European Parliament, which has voted to ban automatic AI facial recognition. Investigations into automated facial recognition in public spaces or cameras in the streets, and how police can access artificial intelligence led Europe's leaders to ban the automatic use of facial recognition in public places. They believe firmly citizens should only be monitored when suspected of a crime, and minority groups should not be studied to improve algorithms without consent or remedy in place if things go wrong. Up to now, the development of facial recognition software by both government and private providers has been unregulated. MEPs felt strongly that, in particular, private companies like Clearview AI need monitoring, and will now discuss whether private company databases should be made illegal altogether.
Thanks, Lisa. Now, the last two stories in the roundup this week are my favorites. First, I just enjoy saying the word non-fungible, as in non-fungible tokens, better known as NFTs. I feel like NFTs just became a thing, and now there's already a major scam involving the new blockchain technology.
Haha, for sure. Unfortunately, NFT scams seem like the latest way to swindle cash out of people. In this one, what seemed a genuine attempt to develop a new video game called Evolving Apes turned out not so genuine. A crowdfunding webpage designed by a character known as Evil Ape sold several thousand digital images of cartoon apes to raise capital to develop his own project. It was kind of like the guy had these apes, which were rough around the edges, with stubble, and they looked a bit down and out. And as the game progressed, they'd evolve. You can see the appeal, of course, a couple of witty lines, written as you win status for your ape, and so on. Now, we saw this story first on Vice.com, who report when the website sold the original NFTs picturing the starter apes, after receiving 2.7 million in crowdfunding, the founder has disappeared, along with all his social accounts, websites, and of course his funds. But those NFT ape pictures are still out there, with owners having a aping hole in their bank accounts.
At the same time, I also wonder if all this publicity around the scam will lead those images to become more valuable than they would have otherwise. I guess we'll see. In the last story, I love the popular spy series called The Americans. I'm completely fascinated by espionage. What's this about a peanut butter sandwich dead drop?
Oh, I love the Americans. So normal a family. No one knew they were spies. Yet the series was based on the premise that the Russians were sleeper agents for years until activated in the American suburbs. Right? It might be because the new James Bond film is out this week called No Time to Die. But when I saw this story, I called it The Spy Who Fed Me. And it looks like these suburbanites were indeed passing secrets to the Russians. So, what happened? Last Saturday, the US Justice Department caught former US Navy engineer Jonathan Tobe trying to pass on secrets about nuclear-powered submarines. Using some creative dead drop techniques, one involved inserting a tiny memory stick into a peanut butter sandwich and leaving it on a bench. At another point in time, the urban spy used a chewing gum packet and a lot of technology to cover his tracks, such as sending messages via encrypted email and ensuring his payments were received in cryptocurrency. But this wasn't enough. Jonathan Toeb's luck ran out when the FBI arrested him and his wife, whom he'd used as a lookout, just like the Americans, last Saturday during a third dead drop. We think all of this proves it was no time to spy.
Thanks, Lisa.
It's the TechSpace Tip of the Week.
Before we wrap up today's show, let me introduce Rodney Brazil, who will be taking us through the TechSpace Tip of the Week. Rodney, it seems like online scammers are coming up with more and more ways to find targets for their fraud, and that's even impacting gamers. So how can gamers stay safe online?
Well, Derek, it's certainly a hot topic. As online gaming platforms such as Twitch and Steam gain users, they become more appealing targets for hackers. News of extensive security breaches appears in our feeds almost daily. So the question is not if your data will be compromised, but when. While online personal details can never be fully protected, there are a few easy ways to minimize your data security risk when gaming online. On gaming sites, your account is tied to your email address, making it very easy for someone to identify you. So choose a username and unique password that cannot be associated with you. Picking a random username with no fragments of your email address, location, or birthday is highly recommended. If your email is associated with a personal domain name, consider getting a disposable email address so the real one can never be compromised. Check your privacy settings often and use the maximum level of restrictions allowed. Online platforms change their policies all the time, so when you see that "our terms have changed" pop up, your next destination should be the privacy settings. When gaming on a borrowed device, for example a school laptop, it's imperative to check the privacy settings and make them as restrictive as possible. Even with strong privacy settings in place, limiting the data you share with both the platform and other users is critical. Think twice before answering any personal questions and avoid offering any optional information.
Thanks, Rodney. It's good advice. That's all for this episode of TechSpace, and from me, your host, Derek Musso. Thanks to co-hosts Jackie Dana, Lisa McKnight, and Rodney Brazil. Also, special thanks to producer and editor Anastasia Dietchenko. If you're interested in hearing tech's most intriguing news stories each week, we'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe and leave us 5 stars wherever you listen to your podcasts. For more information about TechSpace Podcast, visit techspace.news. To read the stories in today's show in blog form and to find links to all the sources referenced in stories, see the episode description or visit namecheap.com/blog. We'll see you next week. Bye.
You're listening to TechSpace.